So how do I create multiple objects like object array or something? How do I create that? Let me do one thing. I'll create one class, but I'm going to give this class name as implement student, okay, without any space. And then I'm going to click here and finish. Now this whole thing contains the main function, right? So this is the one which will get executed. But I'll create another class just before this line and write class student. And in class student, I'm going to have two things, int id and um, what happened? String name. Okay, two variables. And I'm going to create two objects. So what I'm going to do, I'll take a constructor. Okay, that means the same name as that of the class name. I'll take a scanner object. Okay, and then we will have java.util. Okay, and I'm going to take id and name. So I'm going to take these two. I'm going to put it over here. First, I'm going to take the ID from the user, which is an integer, and then I want to clear that cursor. So ob dot next line. Otherwise, it will take um, the new line operator as the name. So to avoid that, because name can have two or three words. So I'm going to take next line. Now this is a student, and then in the same way, I want to take display as well from here. So we're going to create a display function in which ID and name will be displayed. Okay. Now, instead of taking one object, I want to take a array of three objects. Now, how do I do that? Array of three objects can be taken something like this. So I'll take student s is equal to new student. Now, this was the way you used to create one single object, correct? What if I give student s is equal to new student, and here I'm going to take it as 3. So this will be acting like a array of three objects. That means it can hold s of I, s of 0, s of 1, and s of 2. So if I want to like set the data by using this constructor, what I can do here, I can give it as for int I is equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus. Each object is accessed with s of I. Okay, dot I'm going to call set data is already done. Okay, sorry, set data is not done. Each of the individual object, that is s of 0, s of 0 should be equal to, you have to create new object, means we have three values, right? S of 0, s of 1, and s of 2. You just created a array structure, but you have to allocate the memory for each individual part of the array. So s of 0, s of 1, s of 2 should be initialized like this. Okay, all three objects will be created here. After that, I want to display all the records. So what I'll do, I'll write sysout displaying records, and here I'm going to give again a for loop. 3 I plus plus and s of I dot display. Okay, cool. So we'll run this. If I have ID is equal to 11, name is equal to A, second one ID 12, name 13. So you have all three records. So what we did when we are trying to create a array of objects, basically in this two things we learned. Maybe we have created a class which is implement student, which will have your main function. But I wanted to create some other class and I wanted to initialize the object of some other class. What I'll do before this, I'm going to create a class student, which will only have the data members and the member functions. That's it. Okay, nothing else. Your main function is in another class, which is your implement student. This one is nothing but the file name that you created. Okay, in the main we created array. How you would create a integer array? You would have created it like int a is equal to new int of 3. Now this is the primitive data, sorry, this is the derived data type, that is the array data type of integer. Now you have given user defined data type. What is user defined data type? Class. Which class? Student class. What I want to create? Array. So square bracket. What is the name of that array? S. New student of how many objects do you want to store in that array? 3. So how do you access S of 0, S of 1 and S of 2? So index should start from 0 till it is less than 3, that is 0, 1, 2, I plus plus. S of 0 will be equal to one new object has to be created in S of 0, S of 1 and S of 2. Without this line you can't go forward. Next, when you're displaying, already in the constructor we have asked the user to enter the ID and name. This is in the default constructor. So what we are going to do? Next we are going to display, because S of 0 dot display, S of 1 dot display, S of 2 dot display, since it is the array. Okay.